What is going on, everyone? Let's take a look at the East Coast, more specifically, the Carolinas. And why don't we start with South Carolina, a state which I have a bunch of family in. And I'm sure I'm going to be getting some interesting Facebook messages after I upload. South Carolina is a southeastern U.S. state known for its subtropical beaches and amazing coastal islands. Here it is right here, in case you don't know. Charleston is a historic city with Old South plantations and Fort Sumter. That was actually where the first shots of the Civil War went down. Over the course of the war, more than 60,000 served, and the state lost nearly 1/3 of its white male population under the age of 35. They lost men from all races, but they only kept records of the white population back then, so I'm sure it was a hell of a lot more. The state is ranked 40th in size and 23rd in population. South Carolina was admitted into the Union on May 23rd, 1788. South Carolina is the South, and everything the southern United States represents. They have some incredible history, both good and bad. South Carolina has been having a growing spurt like the last 7 years or so, and it shows no signs of slowing down. A lot of people are moving there. If you're thinking about moving there, you should probably watch my top 10 reasons not to move to South Carolina. Number 10, the engagement law. One of the odd laws that's still on the books in South Carolina is that if a man makes a promise to marry a woman, he must marry her. If he fails to do so, it is a misdemeanor charge and he could face up to a year in prison. The good news is, ladies, this is a one-way law. So if it turns out he's a grade A tool a month before the wedding, you can kick him to the curb with no headaches. Unless, of course, you do this in Arkansas or you're both from Arkansas, then he's still a relative and it makes family reunions uncomfortable, to say the least. Oddly enough, the South is the most divorced area of the country. Number 9, barbecue. Barbecue is a very southern food. Depending on where you go, usually the sauce is vinegar-based or tomato-based. However, in South Carolina, they use mustard-based sauce, which is different, but good. In my experience, the mustard barbecue sauce can be really good or horrifically bad. It takes a real talent to make this one work. In some parts, they even use so much mustard, the sauce is still yellow. So if you're used to dark and sweet barbecue sauce, this will definitely take some getting used to. If you're a big barbecue fan like myself, this could be a deal breaker. And before you say it, yes, I said barbecue sauce could be a deal breaker whether or not you move to a state. I have that luxury. I'm that kind of shallow individual. So stop typing. Number 8, the weather. Winters in South Carolina are pretty mild. In most cases, winter in the Palmetto State is fairly pleasant. And yes, that's the state nickname, the Palmetto State. It's these little palm trees. You might get a touch of snow, rarely anything major. However, like most other southern states, it gets so hot and humid in the summers, you would think the air is made of 1 part oxygen and 2 parts soup. The average daily temperature in July this year, 2018, was around 99 degrees, and due to humidity, it doesn't cool down. So without air conditioning, it can be unbearable if you're not from the South. If you are from the South, on a hot day, you grab some sweet tea, sit on the porch, and talk about an Arkansan relative that left their cousin at the altar. Number 7, tourism. Millions of tourists visit South Carolina every year. Almost 30 million people visited the state in 2017. Charleston and Myrtle Beach regularly rank among the top 10 tourist destinations in the country. Due to such popularity, tourism is one of the top industries in the state. Now, if you own a business or work in the tourist industry, this is good news. If you're just a resident around these areas, it sucks. Tourists, for the most part, have little regard for the locals and their town, so it becomes a problem. I know, I grew up in a tourist town, right there on the beach. The locals, you could tell because they actually took care of the beach and picked up their trash and they didn't park in front of people's driveways so they can go to the beach. Yeah, that sucks. Number 6, alligators. Gators are a big problem in South Carolina sometimes. It's very common to see them around swamps or swimming pools. If you're from South Carolina or something like Florida, they're no big deal because you're used to them. But not everyone's from the South, so stop typing. Although alligator attacks are rare, it's good to know some basic gator safety to prevent an attack. Number 1, they bite. Number 2, they will eat your dog. Number 3, they're way quicker than they look. Now, there's a lot of people from the South right now going, why is this a big deal? Just like I said, not everyone's from the South. We're not used to them. It's kind of like if you came to California and felt your first earthquake, all the residents around you would be going, oh, that was small, it's no big deal. You will be scared, I promise you. I watched this happen during the San Francisco earthquake in '89 back at Fort Ord in Monterey, California. I'm from California. It was a big earthquake. I was a little rattled, but people from the South and people from the Midwest, they lost their minds. They were running into the woods. It was pretty hysterical. Number 5, poor road conditions. Now, This one was brought up a lot by not just family members, but people I know from South Carolina, and I did some reading on it, and it's bad. Due to low property taxes, the state has to make their cuts in certain areas to save money. One way is by cutting the budget for roads. Many complain about the potholes, traffic, poor upkeep of the highways, and it's been a problem for quite some time. Rush hours take way too long because the roads suck. People get tire damage, all kinds of stuff, and that's not the state's problem, that's your problem if you get a flat tire or your suspension gets tweaked because of a major pothole. It's easy to cut something like that without worrying about future problems a cut like that makes. By the time it becomes a major problem, the politicians that made those cuts are out of office or moved on someplace else. So it's not their problem, it's your problem. Number 4. Income tax. Now, I just did a video about Texas, and Texas has no income tax and no corporate income tax. South Carolina is going the other direction entirely. South Carolina's income tax is growing. The state's top marginal tax rate is the 13th highest in the country at 7%. Residents who make between $0 and about $3,000 in annual income pay zero income tax, which makes sense. And it's good. Now, they have a bracket system like most places, and it goes up a couple percentage points at around $5,000 a year. Most states consider $5,000 a year still a little low, but oh well. Where it gets crazy is their top bracket of 7% starts at $14,650. That's like poverty, and you're getting in the top bracket? That's insane. It's a very low starting point for a top bracket. Most states, their top bracket is around $45,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's crazy. Number 3, utilities. The overall cost of living in South Carolina is pretty average for the most part. That is until you start looking at the cost of utilities. Since the summers get hot as hell and miserable, this makes your electricity and water bill skyrocket. The average resident pays about 30% more in utility bills than anywhere else in the country. No air conditioning really isn't much of an option in South Carolina. Really, it's really not an option. Try it sometime. It's called being miserable. Most states, people save up for a vacation or Christmas. In South Carolina, you save up for your summer air conditioning bill. Number 2. Education. Another way the state chooses to cut their budget is through education. The state is ranked the 6th worst public school system in the country. That's as of March 2017. This isn't fair to the kids or the teachers. Teachers and schools are an investment for our future. Good schools, good teachers help people prepare themselves for their personal future. Properly educated, adequately educated people have a better chance of not committing crime, being better employees, and keeping their jobs. You save money as a government this way. Less prisons, less public assistance, fewer backed up courts, the list goes on. But again, that doesn't affect current politicians, only future ones that have to fix the problem. Up the coast in Massachusetts, they have some of the best scores in the country when it comes to schools, while South Carolina has some of the worst. And number 1. Overpopulation. South Carolina is the 19th most densely populated state in the country, over 160 residents per square mile. Between 2010 and 2015, there was a 6% population increase, and the state's expected to reach 5 million residents by 2020. Now, this doesn't seem like a big concern. However, since the state isn't that large to begin with, this could quickly become a problem in the near future. If they get too crowded, they will have employment and housing problems, just to name a few. It will kill the tourism industry, thus killing the largest industry, which creates even more unemployment. Problems create other problems, if not dealt with. States, cities, and towns are their own ecosystem type thing, if you know what I mean. You know, like if you kill the insects in the rainforest, the birds die, and then whatever kills birds, they die in the rainforest. Maybe that would be larger birds. I'm not really sure. I'm not a rainforest expert. You get what I'm saying. Don't move to South Carolina. You're killing the rainforest. Well, that's it. That's the top 10 reasons not to move to South Carolina. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.